Ladies and gentlemen, this is Till 5 Wrestling. And I'm the notorious ATB.
I'm just tan credible.
We're going to give you 5 solid segments from the minds of 2 people who love professional wrestling, who wrestling probably saved our lives at points.
That's true.
And that is actually how we developed our friendship.
Yes, wrestling has been a huge proponent in our friendship from the first day we met each other.
Technically, he was on my Facebook for a while before he actually introduced himself to me. That's also how I met my wife, because she was there for a little bit.
You meet the best people in your life because they're Facebook stalkers.
Thank you, Mark Zuckerberg. Thank you. So we developed this bond from wrestling. We've been to a lot of shows. I've been to substantially more than Tanner. I'm a few years older than Tanner, or just Tan. I don't want to get your name wrong.
Yeah,
That
happens a lot in this wacky world of podcasting.
Yeah. But I've been to WrestleManias, Ring of Honor house shows, everything in between, and it has been a blessing and a curse at points to like pro wrestling. But it has allowed us to meet and become very good friends and present to you this podcast today.
One show that we both have been to that was very important to both of us, a huge special night, was the Jay Briscoe Memorial Show at Rep Arena. One of probably the first tag team we ever really bonded on was the Briscoes.
The Briscoes and FTR matches were amazing, which we both were Briscoe fans, and I don't think we'd even really talked about being Briscoe fans. I had the pleasure of meeting both of the boys at separate points in their Ring of Honor careers, and it was really special for me personally to be there just because I knew Jay. So it meant a lot to me.
Well, obviously I had tickets to the show before what happened, unfortunately. But, man, what a special night that turned out to be. I will never forget Jay Lethal versus Mark Briscoe in the main event.
Yeah, that match was special.
It absolutely was.
They needed to make it special for Jay. And I'm sure that it was special for Tan and his family getting to see Sting out there.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he might not have wrestled a match, but at least he came out. Y'all got to see him.
At least we got to see Sting.
And it's kind of like when I saw Tanner walk by the merchandise booth and he no-sold me. You know, it happened.
Excitement, man.
I know.
Excitement.
I know. And then, did you make it to the Collision taping in Lexington too?
I did not make it to the Collision taping.
You didn't miss much.
Yeah.
We've had a golden vampire of CM Punk.
Yeah, well, you know, much like I got to see Sting for 10 seconds, you got to see CM Punk in a mask before he cried a river and went back home.
Hey, you know what? He went where he felt he needed to go, and I can't fault the man for that. But that was at last year's All In.
Well, that's one, and let's talk about this year's All In with the All In recap.
That's right. We had a pre-show that was a cluster from the get-go. We had a 16-man tag team match, and if you want to know who all was in it, you can look it up, because I'm not going to force-feed you that information. Leo Rush was bouncing around Satnam Singh really cool, though. I remember that.
Yeah. Always a cool pairing. You put Satnam Singh up. The best use of Satnam Singh is putting him in with a guy like Leo that can work around his mobility issue, we'll call it.
Well, I mean, he gets around a lot better than the Great Khali did. It's very reminiscent.
Definitely does. I like Satnam. But let's talk about the second match on the card. Let's talk about Willow Nightingale and Tomohiro Ishii take it on Statlander and Stokely.
I was surprised. I kind of expected Stat and Stokely to pull out some kind of shenanigans and pull off the win, but Willow won, and I'm always happy to see Willow win.
Willow always puts a smile on my face. Quick match, under 10 minutes. Decent for what it was.
Yeah, it was all it was to build up the all-out match.
It continues the story in the right
Finish
way.
the story. And then we had Saraya coming out and talking, and I missed a tag match in there.
You did. You missed the 10-man tag match.
We crammed so many people in there.
That's the problem.
Yeah. We had the Von Erichs with Guevara and Dustin Rhodes.
And Shibata.
And Shibata. Wow. Yeah. They're calling themselves the Sons of Texas is what the Rhodes, Guevara, and everybody are calling themselves.
Right.
And then they took on Swolverine, Brian Cage.
With his Gates of Agony, Bishop Khan and Toalona. I'm sorry, Cage of Agony. And they teamed up, of course, with Mike Bennett and Matt Taven of the Undisputed Kingdom.
Who a year ago was a lot bigger deal on the horizon than what they were this year. That was pretty pitiful that they're slapped on the pre-show. Hopefully they can turn that storyline around. I think there's still potential to fix it.
Now, to your point,
yes.
Talking about Saraya.
Saraya, I got a little ahead of myself because Saraya came out there and ran her mouth, and then we got to see
the return of the great Jamie Hayter.
And if you hate her, that's a you problem because Jamie Hayter is always entertaining.
Fantastic.
She came out there, she beat up the whole Knight family, sent them running, beat up the blonde-haired girl that runs around.
Harley Cameron.
Harley Cameron. I never can remember her name. She's unimportant in my opinion. She's not that great of a woman's wrestler.
She's there to take the pinfalls for Saraya occasionally.
Yeah, Saraya can't bump, and they've stuck somebody that's fairly new in the business. I get why she's there, but in my fandom, she's not that big of a deal. We know how I feel about most women's wrestling.
Yes, we do. If you are familiar with us from the other shows that we've been on, you will also know that.
Yeah, because I got in a little bit of trouble, but I apologize, and everything was better. And then from there, we went in on the pre-show to the intros.
Geez, the last 15 minutes of the pre-show was intros for the ladder match.
Yes. Yeah, no, House of Black, I would love to get my hands on one of those masks. They're amazing.
Always
Legit.
the coolest aura in AEW to me, man. The House of Black is so cool.
Yeah. We had the Patriarchy defending their trios titles.
That's right.
Yeah. Your father, Christian
My
Cage.
father, Christian
Yeah.
Cage, and also
Actually, both of our dads are dead, so I guess he can be both of us.
he's both of our
Yeah,
fathers, Christian Cage.
he's our stepfather now. I
And
guess
you-
that's how it works.
The other teams that met, of course, the Bang Bang Gang
Yeah. Guns up.
for Juice and the Guns,
Yeah.
and then the Packpool Combat Club.
Yeah. Packpool Combat Club. You know, at one time we had John Moxley, but I guess he's out now.
That's right.
After this week's Dynamite. We had Packpool Combat Club pulling off the win. I love that Pack
got his moment.
Yeah, he got his Wembley moment, but he also played that bastard card. I like to call it the Bastard Combat Club, but that's just me.
I like to call it the Packpool Combat Club. Bittersweet match for me as a longtime Death Triangle fan. That match cemented to me that the Lucha Brothers are leaving AEW. I mean,
Look, I don't believe anybody's gone until they show up somewhere else.
that's fair too.
Because because what did we had Daniel Garcia popping up.
Yeah, Garcia did pop it. We'll get into that a little later.
Get into that one later.
The next match on the card, though, that we'll talk about is Timeless Tony Storm taking on the Glamour, Mariah May, and Mariah May did the unthinkable, Aaron.
She actually pulled off the win and defeated Timeless Tony Storm. I love the Timeless Tony Storm character. I hope that we get more development out of this as the next weeks and months go on. I still think there's a little bit of story that we can milk from this, and then somebody else is going to have to pop up for Mariah to deal with.
Yeah, this story can only go so far. And I'm hoping that once it wraps up, that Mariah will still be able to be a credible champion with other feuds going forward.
Yeah, hopefully she is. Now, from there we went into what I consider the most skippable match of the night, right?
Oh, the snooze fest of the week.
Yeah, Taz's nepotism baby Hook against
Hi, guys!
the Learning Tree, Chris Jericho, and Taz pulled out a kind of a Taz mission.
A sort of standing variation of the Taz mission.
Yeah.
Not a lot to talk about, really. I mean,
Taz Mission Jones.
The longest reigning for the world champion ever has lost his belt. What a crime.
But he can win it back, maybe.
What a crime.
Well, now, according to this week's Dynamite, though, it looks like Roderick Strong is going to be going there.
Interesting that we're defending the belt now after it's been getting some flack online about not being a real belt.
Well, that's because there was a guy on the media scrum that was like, it started out as a joke, which sent Tony Khan into a tirade. as Tony Khan can do.
Well, the FTW belt has a better lineage than the Speed title, so we'll take it
Yeah.
in stride. And that brings us to the three-way tag match for the AEW Tag Team Championships.
I really feel like that one underdelivered.
How many times do we have to see the FTR and the Young Bucks in the same match? How many times do I need to see the Acclaimed and the Young Bucks in the same
Yeah,
match?
I loved the Acclaimed. Like, I've got the foam fingers, scissor fingers. I had a scissor me daddy ass sign, and I got scissor my daddy ass, and I loved it. But I'm kind of over the Acclaimed. I feel like we need to
Freshen it up.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Max needs to break off, maybe, or let him lean into the whole silver and black Raiders kind of vibe. Let him go straight out of Compton for a little bit. That could be fun.
I just think that this match, the trios ladder match here, or not trios ladder match, I'm sorry, three-way.
Yeah, a three-way match that had the Bucks retain again.
I think it shows the lack of depth in the AEW tag division right now. And, you know, when AEW first started, man, every tag team you could think of.
Well, it might have helped if we had the tag team champions on the show every week, or might have had the Ring of Honor titles at least defended every week, something.
Well, you know, it also doesn't help that AEW has the number one problem of not developing new talent, and now we're not developing new tag teams.
Yeah, we keep. I love the company. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, big AEW fan.
But I feel like we've kind of slipped some. Now, there is hope that we're going to turn this around. I really liked some of the segments from this week's Dynamite. You know, the return of Moxley and whatever this It's Not Your Company thing they're doing.
Yeah. What?
That was entertaining.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. So what was next on the card?
So next on the card is the one that I think we're most excited to talk about besides the main event, the Casino Gauntlet match. That, to me, was the most fun match on the card by far.
And I was literally I love to talk my entire life. Every teacher has said Aaron's a great student, but he talks too much in class. I was literally speechless when Nigel McGuinness strolled out there.
Oh, my God, man. I'm surprised we didn't get a noise complaint. We were so loud once we finally realized it was Nigel.
All I wanted was a rebound lariat. And that is probably the loudest I've ever gotten watching wrestling at home, was when he hit that rebound lariat during the Casino Gauntlet Battle Royale that our stepfather screwed him out of.
We love Nigel.
Yes.
Now, if we're talking about AEW in-ring debuts in the Casino Gauntlet, let's talk about the one and only Ricochet.
Yeah. Rico Chet himself. He showed up in the standard gold and black AEW gear.
As most people do when they debut.
Yeah,
Which is
I was kind of hoping that we would see some connection between him and Swerve this week, but we didn't get that, even though Swerve was donned in red and black.
That'll be a great match when that
would be fun. Yeah. Who I really can't remember.
Well, in the match, we had Orange Cassidy.
Yes.
We had Kazuchika Okada.
Who I enjoyed the Okada and Nigel back and forth. That was a lot of fun. Speaking of back and forths, the Zack Sabre and Nigel back and forth.
Man, that was a dream match I didn't know I needed.
Oh, I knew I needed it. And I wanted it. And to see those two guys working against each other, it was very much like watching a mirror.
Yeah. It was nice.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward, hoping that Nigel continues this return. Yep. With a refill of McGuinness, as I'm enjoying calling it.
I would like to see this lead to Okada versus Nigel and All Out for the Continental Championship.
And I would like to see that become Nigel winning it and holding it to the end of the year this year.
Wouldn't that be
fantastic? And letting him retire from there.
Well, there you go. That would be pretty cool. Well, we better get to the winner of that match, which, of course, was Christian Cage.
Yes.
Once again, screwing Nigel McGuinness over and getting the pinfall on Kyle O'Reilly.
Even though Nigel loved him all the time and put him over on Collision, Christian come in and he just had to screw that up.
You got to give props to Christian, man, pulling double duty at 50 years old here at All In.
Well, there's a reason that he was Tony Khan's favorite wrestler.
Yeah.
The man, he's still got it.
The instant classic. He's never lost it.
Captain Charisma.
Never lost a step.
And Vince McMahon wanted to slap a green dot on his face.
You let Christian loose. TNA proved it too. You'll get a hell of a worker out of it.
I hope that we get Christian and Danielson Gosh, I don't know because he has Darby at Grand Slam.
Yeah.
I'm assuming we're going to go with Jack Perry at All Out.
I would assume so.
So
Where is All Out this year?
Chicago.
We're totally going Jack Perry.
Yeah, that's the smartest move you can make. Put Perry in there as the heel in Chicago because they're going to boo him anyway.
We're 100% going Jack Perry. Speaking of that one, well, not speaking of Jack Perry, but moving on to the next match, Will Ospreay versus MJF.
First off, I love the Office parkour entrance by Will Ospreay and his buddies all flipping around.
And Lex Luger Light, MJF.
Yeah,
Cool.
with the MJF Express looking gear.
Very cool.
As he strolled in there to represent America, and looked on his way to winning it until
the return of Daniel Garcia,
who rumors were back and forth about whether or not he would actually show up in AEW or if he was going back to WWE.
Maybe he's going to pop up in NXT. Maybe he's going to pop up in TNA. You never know with the world of wrestling today.
I'm glad to see him come back, and I like Daniel Garcia a lot. Personally, I prefer when he wrestles in some kind of baggy pants versus tights. And if he'll wrestle like that, I think he'll be fine. But for some reason, just the regular tights, it doesn't work. He looks too small. But that's just nitpicking. From there, we're going to go to Mercedes Moné and Britt Baker. And Mercedes Moné won.
That's about as much as we can say for that. I will say that I'm surprised that Britt lost clean at All In.
I kind of expected it because I don't think that Britt's still 100% after everything she's been through physically.
Yeah.
And I roll my eyes and I kid. It was a good match.
It was.
It wasn't bad by any means. I think that Mercedes is getting better, which she did have a lot of time away from television, weekly
lot of
wrestling.
injury time.
Yeah.
And,
So I might have been a little harsh on her before in the past, but hopefully she continues to get better. It seems like she's leaning into this friendship with the Elite, with Okada showing up at her title celebration on Dynamite this week.
Well, speaking of the Elite, let's talk about my favorite AEW wrestler at the moment, Scapegoat, Jack Perry, defending his TNT Championship against Darby Allin in the shortest coffin match I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was a little rushed. It was a fun match.
I think we went over on a couple other matches.
I don't understand the point of gluing thumbtacks to your forehead for your match. It didn't work for me, brother.
I didn't even really think it was that cool of a visual.
No, because you really couldn't tell.
No.
The dive into the coffin was really cool on the outside.
Cool.
The glass bit we knew it was coming, but it was still cool.
Yeah, got to be some real glass if Jack Perry's in the ring.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Now,
Jack wins clean, which is super interesting. Did not expect that.
And if I could be notorious for a moment. From there, we get slowly sauntering to the ring while Jack Perry stands there with a lighter and gasoline all over the coffin. Now, I'm sorry, but if I hate you enough to set you on fire in front of everybody on camera, I'll do it while your stepfather slowly strolls to the ring and then just run off while he's trying to put you out.
6 months removed from his big moment.
Yeah.
In his retirement.
6 months from being retired. Come on, Sting.
Guess he really is great friends with Flair.
Yeah.
So,
I would have much preferred if Sting's son had came out. If we brought out the Raiders acclaimed gear, like if they come running out straight out of Compton to save Darby Allin, that would have made a lot more sense because they've teamed together lately.
I don't think either member of the Acclaimed are from Compton, for the record.
Well, no, but I mean, like, because the NWA, straight out of Compton, they wore, like, the black and silver. Okay.
I got you.
Well, you're young, and rap's not exactly your thing.
No,
so I'm that crazy mother lover named Ice Cube.
Well, speaking of rap, let's talk about the main event. Swerve Strickland versus the last stand for the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson.
Now, can we just state that for the last year, since last year's All In, Swerve Strickland has stolen the show every time he stepped in that ring. And All In was no different. That match was amazing.
As predicted, when Swerve showed up for the first time a few years ago and made his debut, and the big announcement that Tony Khan happened to have that week, well, that one was truly big.
Yeah, it was. And Swerve, I saw Swerve at an NGW show in Newport, Tennessee years ago, and from the moment that I saw him, I said, this guy's special. And he has far exceeded my expectations, and he keeps getting better. I'm loving this Hangman Page story.
I had a very similar reaction the first time I saw Swerve in Lucha Underground as Killshot in maybe one of my favorite matches ever against AR Fox.
A man who I would like to see show up more, hopefully Ring of Honor. Like, why not slap a Ring of Honor world title match on the guy? Maybe let him win it.
Why not?
Why not? It doesn't hurt anything.
Why not?
But Danielson, can we also put over the fact that Danielson nailed that bicycle knee?
Jeez.
And Swerve no-sold it and kicked him in the face.
Mm-hmm.
This is the same move that's took down John Cena, that's took down Randy Orton, that's took down everybody that Danielson's hit with it, and Swerve brushes it off.
Because
Love that move.
he is Swerve Strickland.
Yes.
The king.
Yeah. But Swerve did end up losing the match because, let's face it, Danielson is probably the best ever. And
after the match Sunday, a definite case could be made that Danielson could be the GOAT.
Danielson probably is the GOAT.
He probably, all jokes aside, is the greatest wrestler ever.
Yeah. Now, that's two hot moments that we've given you. Topics, as it was. Now let's dial it down to one here. What do you call it? The Hall of Lame. So there's a lot of people that don't belong in the Wrestling Hall of Fame out there. And while I could take shots at celebrities, I won't say any names. We don't want to get canceled.
Sure.
We could take shots at some of the Warrior recipients because they don't really deserve it. Or we could take shots at Queen Sharmell because she doesn't belong in there. All she did was accompany her husband to the ring and wave.
Well, I've got a great one for you talking about Queen Sharmell. Why is Queen Sharmell in the Hall of Fame, but Miss Elizabeth isn't?
That's a fair point. Why isn't Liz in there? Well, are we afraid to put Elizabeth in there? Because we know how she passed away? Doesn't matter. Why not put her in there? We've got a lot worse people in that Hall of Fame than Miss Elizabeth as a person. We've got Hulk Hogan still in there.
Twice.
Brother. You know, we've got Coco Beware, and what's he famous for? Walking out with a bird?
He has a cool bird. Cool tights. Cool
Now,
colorful
hold on.
gimmick.
I will put over, I loved High Energy with Owen Hart.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, that was a
cool.
lot of fun. Coco and Owen was a lot of fun. But
Never won the tag belts.
well, it was short-lived too.
Yeah, never
because
won the
we
tag
shifted the anvil in there really quick.
We did.
And it made more sense for it to be the anvil and him as new foundation.
Yep.
But it is what it is.
Well, let's talk about the guy that I've selected for the Hall of Lame that shouldn't be in. And this is going to be a little controversial to some, but let's talk about human garbage Bill Goldberg. Hall of Fame of 2018 put Bill Goldberg in the Hall of Fame. I think that I despise Bill Goldberg more than any wrestler ever. And he's a talentless hack. I mean, come on, he had the undefeated streak. He knew 3 moves. He retires after a very short stint in WWE after WCW closes. Goes and does whatever he does. He's in a couple shitty movies.
He had his car show.
Okay, that's
He
super
had that.
important.
Well, hey, he had other
Is he on
hobbies.
the Classic Car Hall of Fame?
He might be. Is there a Classic Car Hall of Fame?
Let us know in the comments.
So
Then he comes back. Well, he comes back.
uh-huh.
Goldberg comes back around 2015, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Mhm.
And he just starts squashing people left and right. And I think to myself, man, Goldberg's worked 10 matches since he's been back, and all of them add up to like 8 minutes of match.
I liked the Goldberg showing up to take out Brock Lesnar stuff. I had no problem with most of his return run. He did it for his kid to see him. I get that. I don't agree with him beating Bray Wyatt, That was the dumbest move that WWE had done in a long time at that point. But
they kept coming after that for a while.
Yeah, we ran with it there. Like, WWE was the only place that COVID made it better.
Yeah.
So we had. Let's get to the root of the reason that he went on that just tangent about Bill Goldberg. He's mad because he blames Goldberg for taking out Bret Hart.
My hero, Bret Hart.
When it wasn't Goldberg's fault that Bret's career ended. Did he get him with a stray kick? Yes. But Bret continued to wrestle for months. So I understand that you want to blame Goldberg, but again, Bret screwed Bret. So
Vince screwed Bret, Goldberg screwed Bret, Shawn screwed Bret, Bret.
Bret screwed Bret. Sorry, not sorry.
Punk screwed Punk.
He did. Punk did screw Punk.
But
you know what Punk doesn't partake in?
What's that?
He doesn't partake in any drugs or alcohol or anything like that, which
He's
is
so
fine.
much better than us.
Hey, look, if you're straight edge, that's fine. If that kind of stuff is not your cup of tea, that's fine. But I'm a big supporter of using Delta 8 in a medicinal way.
Yes.
As it can help with pain or anxiety or stuff like that. And that's why I'm proud that one of our sponsors, actually our only current sponsor, is Green Hemp Company. You can find Green Hemp Company online on Facebook. You can find their website at greenhempcompany.com. They are located in the foothills of the Smokies in Greenville, Tennessee. They're open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m., Sundays, noon to 6 p.m. I personally think that they are a great quality brand for medicinal needs. If you don't use it for medicinal needs, just be safe. It's not everybody's cup of tea. I ain't going to judge you for it. I highly recommend you go see Donna and get you some quality products if you're going to partake in this kind of thing.
And that's 3. It's time for the Flip Side Face-Off.
All right. We've got the American males and Yoko Owen, as I've come to call them. Yokozuna and Owen Hart.
Also, sometimes known as Camp Cornette.
Well, we don't talk about Camp Cornette.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I don't have my tennis racket with me. That's
Maybe on the
another
next show.
a podcast that we can discuss at another point in time. So I really love the tag team of American males. I'm a huge WCW fan. I feel like they deserve more than they got. Their, what was it, an 8-day reign as tag team champions?
9-day reign. 9-day reign.
9 whole days. I feel like they deserved better than that. I think they could have held the belts and lost them to Sting and Luger, and it would have been a far better story.
American males won their one and only WCW Tag Team Championship on September 18th, 1995, defeating Harlem Heat, dropping it 9 days later to, you guessed it, Harlem Heat.
Yeah, and they had wrestled in the dark match on the pre-show. They were supposed to wrestle the Blue Bloods,
right?
But Harlem Heat lays them out, and the American males end up winning the tag team champions in an impromptu match. So I get the logic of the somewhat new tag team surprisingly winning the belts, but I don't really agree that they should have lost them 9 days later.
They were a true tag team compared to some of the WCW tag teams at the time, for example, Dick Slater and Bunkhouse Buck, that just weren't quite great as tag teams.
One could argue that Yokozuna and Owen Hart weren't really a tag team either. They were two guys thrown together because they needed somebody to wrestle Shawn Michaels and Diesel, really.
Right.
Let's be honest. That's why they were tossed together. And then they were quickly pulled apart, and Yoko went on to feud with Vader randomly. And we had Owen and Bulldog become a tag team, which was legendary.
Right.
I feel like we could have just skipped the whole Yokozuna and Owen Hart tag team and went straight into Bulldog and Owen.
Well, see, that's what's interesting with Yokozuna and Owen Hart, because on April 2nd, 1995, Yokozuna and Owen Hart won the tag titles, defeating the Smoking Guns.
Yeah.
Yep. They had a 175-day title run.
Yoko and Owen did?
They sure did.
Wow.
Before dropping the
Forgotten
belts
that's
to
how long it was.
Diesel and Shawn Michaels under controversial circumstances.
And they had to give them up the next
They
night.
had to give them up
Yeah.
2 days later.
2 days later.
Back to Yoko and Owen.
Yeah.
Who, ironically,
So the two dudes with attitudes had a 2-day
had a
reign.
2-day reign.
Say that 5 times fast.
They dropped the titles on the same day they were giving them back to the Smoking Guns. So much like the American males, losing the titles to the same guy they won them from.
Yep. And even that, you could argue that the two dudes with attitudes had a American males reign with the belts of
Yeah, really.
2 days. But both of those guys were treated far better. And I feel like when you look at it, Bagwell and Riggs really should have gotten more than they did for the end of that tag team.
Yeah.
Because they had been together for, 15 months or so?
They were together from
Yeah.
August 1995 to November 1996.
Okay, yeah. So
Like 14 months.
15 months.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yep.
Like I just said.
Right on the money.
Yeah. Thank
Right
you.
on the money.
Yeah. Because I'm the old man up here. So, you had the American males, and then they split in the most random way ever. After World War III, you had the NWO come out there, and Bischoff's like, if you're not with us, you're against us. Buff strolls out because he'd been having a tiff with Scotty,
Right.
and joins the NWO. They have 2 matches, or they have 1 regular match. They have 2 matches in Japan, and then they wrestle at Uncensored 97 in a underrated strap match
Very good.
that I remember. I remember it vividly. I was watching it in a sleeping bag with my best friend at the time, the not Tanner, the Trevor in my life at that point.
Trevor.
So we watched that one, and that was the same night that Rey Mysterio won his Spider-Man gear to take on Prince Ikea.
Mm-hmm.
I'm weird. I love uncensored pay-per-view.
So as far as post-team
The
success
WCW
goes,
thing, nothing weird.
for both teams, the American males and, what'd you call them, Yoko Owen?
Yeah,
Okay. As far as post-team success goes, of course, like you said, Buff Bagwell joins the NWO.
and deserves better in his career than he got. We're both Buff fans,
Formed Vicious and Delicious with one of my favorite WCW wrestlers, Scott Norton.
who you can see right above Just Hand's head.
Either way, my finger's pointing.
And you can see Buff right behind him.
And Buff also suffered horrific neck injury.
He did. Now, I got to meet Buff several times. You met Buff.
I did meet Buff.
Later
Buff's a
on.
great guy.
Buff had the neck injury with Rick Steiner,
Yep.
which he sold it really well. I still say Buff could have gotten more out of his WCW career than they gave it.
Well, he did go on to win the tag team championships one more time with Shane Douglas, post neck injury and post NWO.
Look, hey, that was back in the New Blood Rising era. I enjoyed it because I'm also a Russo guy. I don't hate Russo.
Now, you get to Scotty Riggs on the flip side. After their feud, as you said, in that pretty underrated strap match.
He takes a trip into a steel chair against Raven and walks around with an eye patch forever.
And it's time to join the flock for
Yeah.
Scotty Riggs. From there, he floated around the lower mid-card before having a brief run in ECW in an American Males parody gimmick as the U.S. male Scotty Anton.
Yeah, see, I remember Scotty Anton. I didn't remember that because ECW ain't my bag.
It was a parody gimmick of the American Males.
Okay,
Kind
cool.
of fun. You should
Was
go
it-
and
was
watch
that
it.
Was that with Jason Knight?
No, that was with the network.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that was Don Callis.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. I'm with you.
Yep, and post-team success for Owen and Yoko. Obviously, Yokozuna was the WWF champion prior to winning the tag team
Yeah.
belts. We're not discussing that here. Yokozuna went on to feud with Vader.
Yeah. Had a really good feud.
Very fun feud, where he then started to have weight issues, which kept him out of the ring for extended periods of time.
Well, you can't be 600 pounds jumping around in a ring.
He wrestled his last WWF match in November of 1996. Was released in 98, never could get his weight in control. Unfortunately, worked a little bit on the indies before tragically passing away in 2000.
And then we had Owen, who passed even more tragically. We all know that story. He had some legendary matches. The time that he had with Jeff Jarrett is a favorite of both of ours.
Yep.
The Hart Foundation era,
Oh, man.
the Black Heart, Owen Hart.
I just broke Stone Cold's neck, man.
Yeah, that
I
was
mean,
some good
come on.
times. We'll get don't worry, we'll get into Owen way more in later episodes, I'm sure.
As far as post-team success, though, Owen did a lot more than any of the other 4 guys named post-teaming.
Or 3 guys named.
Or 3 guys, yeah. You know.
Yeah.
But he became a 2-time Intercontinental Champion and a 1-time European Champion.
Yeah.
Joining the Hart Foundation.
And a 2-time Slammy Award winner.
And a 2-time Slammy Award winner. Joining the Hart Foundation. And then, once the Montreal Screwjob happened, joined the Nation of Domination briefly. Which is interesting. Went on to win the tag team titles with Jeff Jarrett before becoming the Blue Blazer. Tragically passed in the most horrific wrestling incident ever in 1999. And that's,
the full synopsis of Owen Hart's
that's
career.
the full synopsis.
Yeah. So,
as far as true tag teams go, I thought, personally, looking back on some of this, that the American Males made more sense as a tag team than Yoko and Owen. They looked the part. The gimmick was good.
they had the theme.
They had the greatest theme song.
We're the
in
American
history.
Males.
What a great song.
Yeah.
I love it.
Classic.
It's in my head constantly. The American Males are great. If I had to pick between the 2 of them, although I love Yoke and I love Owen, I'm definitely going American Males.
Yeah.
Definitely going American Males. So that is 4. And it's time for us
to do the blind bag special. So, in this right here, we have the entire AEW roster. And we're going to each pick 2 names. And we will fantasy book a rivalry between these 2 teams.
That's right.
So, Tanner, would you like to pick your first name?
My first name selected from the blind bag is Big Shotty Lee Johnson.
Ooh. Well, I'm going to win this rivalry, I can tell you that.
No, I'm going to get a good pairing.
Okay, my first pick is the man we mentioned earlier, the whole Foxen show, AR Fox.
I like that. Let's see who will be teaming with Big Shotty Lee Johnson here.
They would have made a good team.
Flip side. Yeah, that would have been cool.
Yeah. They would have been Foxley.
All right. Dustin Rhodes.
Okay, it works. Nightmare Family.
Yeah, we're going to do that.
Works.
Yeah,
that
we
works.
can do that.
It's Codyverse.
Okay.
Yeah. So, who's AR Fox's tag team partner? Blake Christian.
Wow.
Ooh, we are going to have some fun matches with these
That's
four
going to be
guys.
some super fun matches.
Yeah, because we're going to be flipping and flopping all over the place.
Dustin's going to hit 10
First
destroyers
off,
a match.
I feel like this has to take place in Ring of Honor.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Rampage crossover.
Oh,
At most.
Ring of Rampage.
Ring of Rampage.
Yes.
That's for a future episode.
Yeah. So, let's say, first off, let's let Blake Christian and AR Fox get some wins over some of the other people there. You know, Bear Country. Maybe they could even pick up a win over Bear Country and earn a tag team title shot against Dustin and Sammy.
Uh-huh. From there, Sammy, I'd like to see Blake Christian and AR Fox defeat them. Sammy flip on Dustin Rhodes, being saved by his trainee, Lee Johnson.
That works. That works. And you know what? Since we're going to throw out Lee Johnson with Dustin, maybe send out the Von Erichs.
Yep.
Like you've got a 4-man team to back off Blake Christian.
You can even throw Shibata in the mix if you want.
5-on-3.
Yeah.
Jeesh. You're going to be harsh to me here. So if we're going to take a 5-on-3 approach with these guys, maybe, you know what? I'm putting Private Party with them.
Ah, okay. I think
So
it'd be a good place to throw in Ortiz.
No, I ain't doing it. I ain't doing it. I'm putting Private Party with AR Fox, Blake Christian, and Sammy Guevara.
And we run blood and guts. No, I'm kidding. Obviously, we're not going to do that. It would be very fun.
That would be, you know what? It's Ring of Honor. We could do a Cage of Death.
Cage of Death and Ring of Honor. That's what we like to hear.
The Scramble Melee Cage.
Now, as far as my pairing of Lee Johnson and Dustin Rhodes, I don't see this being any more than a short-lived situation.
It could be a great way to get Lee Johnson elevated into the roster.
To the next level.
You know, I really think that there's promise with my little unit. I feel like Blake and AR Fox would be a good tag team.
I really do. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that they would probably storm and keep those belts for a little while. Maybe losing the top flight.
I think that could be a very fun tag team. As much as I think it actually makes sense for Lee Johnson and Dustin to be tag team partners because of the Cody Association, the Nightmare Family universe, I definitely think AR Fox and Blake Christian are going to win the flip side phase.
So there you have it. I'm winning the first blind bag special. And that sounds like it's till 5, folks. So you all can make sure to tune in next week. Catch us as we talk about the Ring of Nigel. Maybe do some history of the greatness that is Nigel McGuinness.
Yes.
We really appreciate everybody that sat with us tonight and watched this show. We hope we entertained you. We hope we educated you, almost like we're associate professors.
Speaking of professors, big shout out to our friend Professor Bear. We're going to shout out some of the guys that helped us along the way.
Yeah, we've had a lot of help getting here. I want to give a shout out to Joe Monroe.
Yeah.
He put us on his show for a while to help us build his brand, our brand, work together. We went a little storyline-esque at points, but I feel like it was entertaining, and that was the goal.
Yep, and it worked.
Yeah, it worked.
Also, Crander, he made our logo.
Yeah,
great guy.
I've played with him a few times with different colors and stuff like that, but that is a Crander Q original with Red Ape Graphics. Even the guys from Mayhem Media, even if they don't like us nowadays or not,
we appreciate you regardless.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys doing a show with us. Joe Panther.
Joe Panther. Oh my God, I love Joe Panther.
You will see Joe Panther here. We've got some friends from Twitch. We got Juicebox, where I'm going to make sure to get him in with us.
Yep. Love James Kendrick.
James Kendrick is a blast.
Very cool guy.
That Arkansas Nose Pool. Work on that, man.
Yep. It's coming up.
You got that. So, I guess we had till 5, referees. Tell us what you liked. Tell us what you didn't. Catch us next week.